You look so cool.
I am cool.
And finally, you look the part.
Cody said something about being able to hear us swallow when we were taking drinks of our drink.
Mom was like, I love that I could hear Deanna gulp her wine. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that she was like, no, I love it. And I was like, yeah, but I think we're trying to not make it sound.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was like, no. She was like, it was great. It was my favorite part. I was like,
oh my God, if that was her favorite part, we did not do a good job. Do we have any shout outs to give this week?
New Patreon people, definitely. So Lindsay Slater, shout out to you, Rebecca Gage, and then Jordan. Yes, thank you. And then Jordan Gravitt, his absurd amount. We really do appreciate it. Everyone should personally go to Jordan's page and find him on Facebook and thank him, because we'll be able to get some cool stuff to send all the other Patreon.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Which is absurd. And I told Deanna it's so absurd that I personally messaged him and made sure he knew what he was doing. And he's aware, so.
Yeah, I also wanted to say we got so much support and love this week for our first episode. I was so shocked.
I know, I really was.
There were people such as my husband who I didn't even expect to listen to the pod. And they did, and they liked it. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So we're doing something right.
And especially, I think I was the most shocked because I don't know about you, but I felt way too nervous to mention exactly what we were doing or when we were recording, when it was coming out, to even tell people to like hype them up. So literally not even 10 people knew between you and I, not even like 10 people total knew until it came out. And even friends that I had talked to all week they messaged me, they texted me, and they're like, what the fuck, I just talked to you yesterday. And I'm like, I know, but I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, guess what we're doing, before it's even a thing. So also with the fact that no one knew it was coming out and so many people like downloaded and followed us and everything, it's unbelievable. The downloads our first episode got is like shocking. I don't even know how.
I think it's like at 118 downloads now, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
That is. It's insane. I'm sure I know 100 people, but there's not 100 people that I can name that I thought would go and listen to the whole episode.
Right.
And so many people, like all the feedback, so many people messaged us.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I didn't really get any negative feedback. I don't know if people are trying to be nice or if we're like really that awesome.
I got a lot of feedback about my audio quality, which is why I got a new microphone.
Yes.
But other than that, yeah, like I think people really liked it, so I think we're doing something right.
It was very exciting.
And I feel like way less nervous this time, like recording than last time.
Me too. My face is less red. I'm less splotchy. I'm back to my normal pale self. So those new Patreon subscribers, again, thank you. You're going to be getting some snail mail this month, hopefully. And the Patreon is, again, patreon.com/NoFuckingWay. Join it. Go see it. Follow us. Instagram.
Yeah, even if it's just like $3 a month, it helps us to be able to put out, merch and keep the pod going.
Yeah. And I didn't know that there was a way. So we only have the $3 one and the $5 one, but then Jordan picked his own amount, and I can't see that as an option when I log in, like under the creators login or whatever. But I guess when you go as a patron to subscribe, you can put, so if $3, if that's too much, then you can do it. You can do like 50 cents. You can do a quarter. 1 penny. It's all very helpful. So that's awesome. Thank y'all a lot.
So before we get started, I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard of hair splinters?
Yeah.
You have?
I used to get them all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So what's that
Especially when
like?
I cut my dad's hair, because my dad has very, very thick, coarse hair. It's worse than like a wood splinter because it's like bendy,
Oh, yeah.
getting it out. Oh my God. It's awful. And when I was in cosmetology school, we could wear, you had to have on like a smock or whatever, but you can wear kind of whatever shoes. And so I would, in the summer, I'm wearing like flip flops or whatever, and like sweeping up hair and stuff around the school. You could just like step in hair and get hair splinters.
Oh my God,
It
that's so
hurts
crazy.
so bad, but you get them out the same way as a wooden splinter with just like
Yeah,
tweezers or whatever. But it's so, you can't bend a piece of wood. They hurt more and they're harder to get out.
that's so crazy. When Cody came home and told me like he had heard about it from somewhere, I thought it was such bullshit. I was like, there's no way that hair gets into your body.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I did too the first time I got one, and my instructor, she was like, "Oh, it's a hair splinter," and I was like, "What the fuck?"
you're like, what am I getting into?
Yeah. Also, this is not really related, but I just thought of this. That same instructor that told me about them, she stepped on an earring when she was like 10, just like a little stud earring in her foot. And the surgery to get it out was like super, like major invasive surgery. And they said it wouldn't affect her if she didn't want to get it out. So she had an earring like in her foot, in the heel of her foot, that she had there for like a decade.
Oh
And
my
you could see
God.
it. She would show it to us. It was like you couldn't see obviously the earring, but you could see where the like scar where it went in. So she had an earring in her foot. So she's like, if I can walk around with an earring in my foot, then you can get your hair splinter out with these tweezers.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, Cody was like, ask Candace about hair splinters because,
Did he get one?
no, he just heard about it. I don't remember how he said he heard about
Yeah.
it.
It hurts.
That's
It hurts a lot.
crazy. I
Yeah,
can't believe that's a thing.
it is a thing. Deanna and I got to see each other last night for the first time all year for
Yeah.
Halloween. We went to my sister's for Halloween and had a little bonfire. My sister had like a projector going with some movies. We had some snacks. It was very chill. It was nice to see people. And that was the
Yeah.
first time I've seen my brother since January.
Oh, wow.
I haven't seen him all year either.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was nice. It was a nice time.
I'm still recovering from the smoke inhalation.
I was okay. Peter earlier, he was like, I feel like he's like, my throat's burning. And also I talked to Cassidy on the phone right before I got on here with you. My hair smells disgusting. And I was only on like day 3
Yeah,
of
see, you gotta plan for that.
screwed. I know. I screwed up.
I washed it this morning because my hair smelled disgusting too.
It smells so bad. My clothes stunk. Everything
Yep.
stunk. I hate that. It's like when you leave a Mexican restaurant too.
Yeah.
Just smell so bad.
But at least like the Mexican restaurant smell will like evaporate. But like this morning I smelled my jacket and it still smelled like smoke, so I threw it in the washer.
You know, it sucks. It's disgusting. It was very fun though. Thank you, Cassidy.
Yes, thank you, Cassidy. The beef queso dip was super good.
Okay. Your queso was fire.
It was.
Red wine was good.
Even at room temperature.
Oh, I have a weird story that I looked up, and then I spiraled earlier looking up I was looking up teeth. I wound up looking up teeth and like where your teeth go when they get pulled at a dentist office.
Were you
Like,
thinking about my cat?
oh no, I wasn't. That would make sense since you just told me last night that your cat got all its teeth pulled.
Yeah.
Where do those go? Now I am thinking that.
I don't know, but since you brought it up, I kind of wish I had asked for them.
Make a little cat teeth necklace. I have the first few teeth that my dog lost. I still
Oh.
have them. And I told Peter I was gonna make little earrings out of them. They're so like tiny and white. And he was
Mhm.
like, "You're a freak." They're so cute. I still might do it. You could make such a tiny little like cat tooth choker.
Yeah, that would be cute.
Oh,
I should go back and ask them if they still have the teeth. And if not, would they be willing to donate anyone else's teeth?
where did they all go?
I don't know, but so I got my wisdom teeth cut out when I was like 15, like a lot of people do. And then when I was like 25 or 26, they said I had another wisdom teeth tooth growing in on one side. So I guess that, I
Yeah.
just had so much wisdom that I got another tooth. And they did this like it's like you're halfway under kind of thing, like you're not fully sedated. But I remember like waking up when he pulled it out because I could hear it. I could hear the sound of him pulling it out. And I asked him to see
Oh
it.
my god.
I asked him to show it to me, and
They're
he did.
huge, aren't they?
Yeah, it was pretty big.
Roots of
But
it are insane.
I wanted to ask him so bad if I could have it, but
Why can't I don't know why can't you?
I saw like an article a few days before that procedure where a woman did have, I don't know if it was her own teeth or if it was her fiance's teeth, but basically they made a tooth into a ring. Like instead of a diamond, it was a tooth.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's kind of cool actually.
Yeah, I've heard of couples wearing like the other one's teeth. It's fucking weird.
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure
it's,
I would be comfortable with wearing that in public.
but I saw this article. I follow this like weird news or obscure news site that I check every now and then. And this dentist office in like South Georgia, I guess went out of business or they moved buildings or something like that, and this new company bought it over to make it into something, and they were tearing these walls down, and behind this one wall was like hundreds of thousands of teeth, just teeth. Well, I'm gonna take a picture. I'm gonna screenshot this picture. I'm gonna put it on our Instagram because it's just that a pile of like thousands and thousands of teeth
Inside the wall?
in a wall. Yeah, like
Why?
behind the whatever of the wall. The what's the word?
Sheetrock?
Yeah, yeah. So they like were busting a wall down to make a bigger room, and there's just teeth that he like I guess would just pull and just throw in. He had like a little peephole or something, a little
Oh my God, that
a
is
tooth patch.
insane.
I know. I'm gonna put the picture on our Instagram because it's hilarious.
Actually, now I want to collect teeth. So if anyone listening finds any teeth,
Well, and then I looked it up and it said dental offices pay medical waste management companies to pick up the teeth. And then I guess they just go to where all that hazardous waste goes.
yeah,
And maybe this office, I guess it was cheaper to just store these teeth in the wall than to pay a company to come pick it up. But how expensive can it be to have someone come pick up teeth,
but
you
also
know?
who would know if you just threw it in the trash?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I guess it is kind of a biohazard, but
But where
disinfect
does
the
all
teeth.
that waste, where does like all the biohazard waste go?
I don't
Where does
know.
it all go?
The earth. That's why we're so fucked up.
Can't we put it all into space?
I don't know. Ask Brian.
Brian, could you join this Zoom meeting, please? Can we send him an invite to join this Zoom meeting?
A resident expert on space.
Why can't we take all the toxic waste and put it into space?
That's not a bad idea.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna go first this time.
You do?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Why do you want to go first?
I thought I did, but now that you do, I feel kind of excited.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So what I decided to do is Munchausen syndrome and Munchausen by proxy.
Are you doing the story of Eminem?
No, but I did sort of research if his mom really had Munchausen syndrome.
Really?
Yeah. And apparently she did.
You did, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so a lot of people probably know this from the show The Act on Hulu, which was
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it was the scripted version of the documentary Mommy, Dead and Dearest, um, where basically the mom had Munchausen by proxy, and you know her daughter wound up killing her, having her boyfriend kill her actually.
Gypsy Rose, right? Wasn't that her name?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing, so I was going to do a medical story. I have a medical story and I'll use it for next week, but I asked you, I told you I wanted to do something like Halloweenish,
Yeah.
but it was going to be past Halloween when this episode came out. And Deanna reminded me, like, it's our fucking podcast. We can do whatever we want. I'm like, you're right. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I stuck with my Halloween theme. So we
Yeah,
don't
me
have too
too.
medical.
That's why I like asking you what theme you're doing because I don't want us to do like the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, so for anyone who doesn't know, Munchausen syndrome itself is basically where you will do anything to make yourself look sick. You'll injure yourself. You'll make yourself have blood in your urine. You might Some people cut off circulation to their limbs so that they'll turn blue, and doctors will try to figure out why that limb is losing blood flow. People even inject feces into their body so that body part will like start to rot. So that is Munchausen syndrome, where you'll basically do anything to get the attention and um, care for your
Right.
own sickness.
Right.
And Munchausen by proxy is where you make another person, usually a child, but sometimes like an elderly person or a disabled person, sick in order to get the admiration of like, oh wow, you're such a great caretaker of this person who has like all these problems.
Right. They just continuously like make you think that there's something wrong with you.
Right, yes. So it was first introduced in 1951 by Dr. Robert Asher. He observed patients who invented or exaggerated medical illnesses and symptoms. They would go as far as to have doctors perform unnecessary procedures and engage in self harm to garner attention and sympathy. So, about 20 years later, that was when Munchausen's by proxy was discovered. And there are more than 2,000 cases of Munchausen's by proxy that have been studied. And I actually found out also through my research, it's not just with like children. People who don't have children or don't have a person available to them will use animals. So they might have Munchausen's syndrome by proxy with an animal, like a pet.
What? Oh
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
my
Now
God.
that's expensive. You don't have health insurance to cover that.
Ooh, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, no. Okay, so my stories, I want to credit crimereads.com, and specifically it was, I don't know how to say her name, but I'm going to say Nile Capello, or maybe it's Nile, I don't know. But she's the one that actually wrote these stories. But so the first one I have is Kathy Bush. So this was long before the Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose story would ever come to be, but it was like in the mid 1990s. She wrote to the Clintons to ask for help for medical bills for her daughter, Jennifer. And Jennifer suffered from a variety of evolving conditions, which is one of the like signs. She became a poster child for health reform. Soon they kind of gained some like notoriety, and they were photographed with people from, the Florida Marlin and also the First Lady Hillary Clinton. But an anonymous tip kind of gave Kathy away, and child welfare workers had been suspicious of her since 1991, and they were horrified to find that Kathy had been infecting Jennifer's like lines. Like they have like lines that go into their body to give medication. She'd been
Yeah.
infecting the lines by, poisoning her. And she would forge letters to politicians that she said were written by her daughter. Jennifer was 9 years old by the time that she was finally removed from her mother's care. She had been hospitalized more than 200 times and undergone at least 40 operations. She had her gallbladder, appendix, and part of her intestine removed, and tubes had been placed in her chest, stomach, and intestines. Soon after being placed into foster care, Jennifer's condition dramatically improved, and she was only hospitalized once over the next 9 months. In their investigation against Kathy, police found that the money donated to Jennifer had helped fund resort vacations, a new Mustang, and a motorcycle. In 1999, Kathy was found guilty of aggravated child abuse and fraud and spent 3 years in state prison, which I don't think is enough.
No.
You had organs basically removed from your child because you were
Right.
pushing her. You get 3 years in prison.
Right.
That's insane. So, even though Jennifer's medical issues disappeared after being removed from her home, she now claims that her mother never abused her. Jennifer's father and brother have always maintained Kathy's innocence. Usually the dads do, because they're actually usually pretty absent in the
How
child.
old was she? Was she though? How old was the daughter?
She was 9 when she got taken away from her mom, but it had basically gone on her whole life.
Yeah.
But Jennifer made her career as a social worker, which was a path that she pursued
Oh.
because of the 10 years she spent in foster care. So I think that's like a semi-happy ending, even though she won't like recognize that she was being abused by her mother.
Right. Yeah. That's so young, though. I mean, you're gonna, you don't know, you don't know any different.
Yeah, and that's the thing with a lot of these cases, is like the kids feel like they're just being cared for by their
Right.
parents. They don't feel like they're being abused because
Right.
they don't realize the parent is actually poisoning them.
Right.
So there was another story that I wanted to talk about because it involves both types. So this woman had both Munchausen syndrome and Munchausen by proxy. So she made herself out to be sick as well as her child. So her name is Hope Ybarra or Ybarra.
Mm-hmm.
She's from Fort Worth, Texas. She claimed that she was on her third relapse of cancer and that the end was imminent, and she'd already picked out a casket and a burial plot for herself. I watched a documentary about her on YouTube.
Yeah.
And like the news came and everything. Like she had like, a GoFundMe page going on and all these things because she was making it out like she was about to die. But she never had cancer. So when she had her second child in 1999, she told many family and friends, including her own husband, that the child had cerebral palsy and she put the girl in braces. However, this condition seemed to fade away and disappeared completely by the time her third child was born in 2004. So she was born prematurely, and the birth of this daughter is believed to have served as a catalyst for the more extensive abuse to come. Hope's daughter's life was wrought with medical issues from her birth, and the girl was eventually diagnosed with terminal cystic fibrosis. She was even featured on a poster for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Despite being middle class, Hope claimed her family was struggling to pay the girl's medical bills and held a number of fundraisers, the last of which raised almost $100,000.
Jesus.
So this daughter suffered 4 years of surgeries, procedures, tests, and therapies for cystic fibrosis, all which proved to be based on a lie after Hope was arrested in October of 2009 on the charge of serious bodily injury to a child. Hope eventually...
But how was she diagnosed?
So what what she would do, the mom would fake the test. So the way they test for it is they do some kind of sweat test, and it measures the amount of salt that's coming from the body. And the
Oh.
mom would basically put nasal spray, she said, to where it would look like the daughter had cystic fibrosis. But what was interesting was, and in the documentary they mentioned this, not in the story so much, but so at first the daughter tested negative for cystic fibrosis, and then she tested, there was like some kind of indeterminate like result that kind
Yeah.
of said that there might have been tampering with the test.
Yeah.
And then after the third test, she tested positive, and the fourth test, she tested positive. So basically, Hope found the perfect amount to put,
Oh.
on the test so that it would look like her daughter had cystic fibrosis.
Holy shit.
She was also some kind of like scientist or something because she had access to pathogens, which she stole from her workplace to make her daughter sick. And she drained blood from her daughter to make her anemic and send her to the hospital. So the doctors were saying, like, the daughter would come in, she'd be like, severely anemic at the time. She would get better in the hospital. They would send her home, and then she would come back anemic again because this woman was draining blood out of her daughter,
Oh my God.
like a liter of blood at a time, which is a lot for a child.
That's a lot for anyone.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So, that kind of triggered a chain reaction of events, and the girl went into anaphylactic shock. It was also discovered that Hope had faked her own cancer, lied about having a PhD, and even pretended to be pregnant with twins at one point, faking a miscarriage and holding a mini funeral for the babies.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Two coworkers also believed they were infected with the pathogens that Hope had stolen from the lab. She pled guilty on October 18th, 2010, and she was sentenced to 10 years in prison for her actions. I still can't believe you'll get 10 years in prison for that. People who sell drugs get more time than that.
Way more, right. Like weed possession, you get way more.
Okay, so she did admit to being sick and hurting her daughter, but she kind of downplayed it and claimed that she was just trying to get her the help she thought she needed.
Yeah.
Hope's illnesses continued to rear its head even from prison. So these days she claims to suffer from memory loss from diabetic comas as well as hearing impairment, which was caused by the failure of a cochlear implant surgically inserted in 2002 after Hope told doctors she experienced hearing loss after radiation for her brain cancer.
Okay. Okay, lady.
Yeah, so the documentary I watched with this woman, she was like, she would admit to something.
What'd you find it on? What documentary did you find?
It was on YouTube. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick while I'm talking, but
everything's on YouTube.
Yeah. YouTube has been a great source for me for documentaries lately.
Yeah, I should use YouTube more.
She claimed that she had memory loss because of a diabetic coma. And I'm like, does she really have that? I don't really know if she has diabetes. She also claims to be deaf, and I don't know if that's true either. But she did admit to some things. Like she admitted to tampering with those tests by using the nasal spray. And she admitted to draining the blood. But she even said in the documentary that had the prosecution had access to certain information before she took a deal, that she would have gotten way more time.
Oh.
She knows that she did worse stuff to her daughter.
Yeah.
Luckily, the dad divorced her, and he has custody of that girl, and
he could testify. He testified against her.
It didn't say, but I would think he probably did.
Yeah.
A lot of so Munchausen syndrome where you do it on yourself. That's more common in men, but Munchausen's by proxy is more so with women. And usually it's like a single mother or the father is absent in some way, like he either works a lot or just isn't around.
Yeah.
So that's usually kind of part of it.
That Gypsy Rose, that whole Gypsy Rose story is like the saddest thing I've ever heard.
I know. I don't think she should have gotten that much time.
I don't either. She should have gotten some serious like counseling and psychiatric help. I mean, she was just made to believe that she was this like dying, worthless like creature.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone that was in her position when they came to any sort of realization would have done this same thing.
There was another documentary I watched called like A Mother's Love or something. It's the Real Stories documentary series on YouTube. But the dad in that one was like, well, she didn't really hurt my daughter. My daughter will recover from the psychological injuries. Like, you don't understand how she told her daughter she was going to die. Like,
right.
How do you come back from that easy? It's not.
I mean,
easy.
and you're so young and that's all you know. These kids
Right.
didn't know any different. Like Gypsy didn't know any different.
So this one about hope is called Mommy's Little Secret. Munchausen syndrome destroys a family.
On YouTube.
Yeah. So also I listened to, there was this podcast on Mental Health News Radio Network, and they had Dr. Mark Feldman, who's an expert on Munchausen syndrome. He's written a lot of books. I think he's like up to 4 books on the topic. And then there was a woman named Andrea Abigail who wrote a book called Secrets Unraveled: Overcoming Munchausen Syndrome, which she wrote with her therapist. So she's actually someone who had Munchausen syndrome and overcame it. She described it like it was like an addiction, like if she was an addict. And the Dr. Mark Feldman kind of confirmed that by saying that some patients follow a 12-step program that's like, for addicts, but they follow a 12-step program to help with their Munchausen syndrome. So it's something that people need a lot of counseling for and a lot of guidance for, because it's just getting that attention from people is just so, I don't know, they just thrive off of it.
Right. Yeah.
I also wanted to note, like, people who fake illnesses to get some kind of secondary gain, like if they're going to miss work or if they're going to get like pain pills or something like that from it, that's actually called malingering. So that isn't Munchausen syndrome. It's like a totally different thing, because they're actually just doing it to get out of work or get drugs that they want.
Yeah. When I hear, I've never heard, I don't think I've ever heard of the term like malingering, but that makes sense. But also Munchausen syndrome and Munchausen syndrome by proxy also makes me think of people that are hypochondriacs. Like I had a friend and I won't say her name, but she was like a serious hypochondriac, and if we would see a commercial that was like, oh, do you suffer from this type of back pain or this type of whatever, she would be like, I think I have that. I have that. And everything she would like see or hear, or if someone else said something they were suffering from, she would associate like a part of her life that meshed with that kind of, and be like, oh, I think I have that. Like she thought she had everything that she ever heard of. Anytime someone would bring something up, I'm like, you're actually fine. You don't have any of, there's no like medication for being a hypochondriac though. It's just like,
right. Yeah.
It was so bizarre. And until I even learned the word hypochondriac, I didn't even know like what her what her deal was. She thought she had everything. Anytime I could be like, oh, I have a cold, or I have like really bad period cramps today, she'd be like, oh, I do too. Like, now that you say that, I do too.
Yeah, I
So
think it
weird.
sounds like she probably crossed kind of like she was bordering on between hypochondria and Munchausen syndrome.
Yeah, because
Um,
also her mother was like that.
yeah.
Her mom would like, her mom thought she had herself, like, thought she had all these problems, and she had a few problems, but not to the extreme that was realistic, you know.
Yeah. I feel like I can be a hypochondriac. Like, 99% of the time, if I have a headache, I think it's a brain tumor. Um,
Yeah.
but like, kind of the difference is like, I'm not willing to hurt myself or fake
Oh,
something on
right.
a test to
Right.
get it. I might go to the doctor and say, "Hi, yeah, I think I have a brain tumor. I need an MRI," and they're like, "Okay."
Right. Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference. But I was totally fascinated by the subject all week. I was watching like all these documentaries about it. I wanted to buy Dr. Feldman's book, but it was $32.
Oh. What's the name of the Hulu documentary about Gypsy Rose? What's the name of it?
Oh, well, there's the documentary is called Mommy, Dead, and Dearest.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's on either HBO or Showtime. But the show, they made like a dramatized show
Right.
called Act.
The one with Arquette. What's her name? What's her Arquette name? The sister Arquette. You don't know because you don't know
No,
actresses, but it's really good.
watch movies.
The second season is supposed to be out next year or like January, I think.
There's a second season?
Yeah, because the way there was only like 6 episodes in that first season on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
Because when it ended, they had like just killed their mom. She had just killed her mom, so I think a spoiler alert. But if you don't have Gypsy Roses by this point, then I don't care if I'm spoiling it for you or not.
Right. Okay, but I have a question for you. Do you think that Gypsy Rose deserved the amount of time that she got? She wasn't the one that
No,
actually like committed the murder.
right. And I don't think she deserves to just be in jail at all. She
No.
needs, like, she was a child. She was a baby when it happened. You know, she was so young. I don't even think she was 18, right?
I
When
don't
she killed
think
her
so. I
mom?
think maybe when she killed her mom, maybe she was 17 or 18 at that time.
Ugh,
Also, if you watch the documentary, The Mommy, Dead, and Dearest, the dad, I mean, he has some culpability in this because he just believed everything the mom was saying without
right,
trying to confirm any of it. And he even had suspicions and didn't
right.
really check up on it.
And if you haven't seen this, if you don't know what we're talking about, the parents were divorced.
Yeah,
So he would only get this information like via the crazy mother. So he also thought that she was like like couldn't walk, and
yeah, yeah.
I,
Gypsy was
which is
even,
so extreme to make someone think that they can't walk.
yeah,
She could walk perfectly fine, but was like made to believe that she needed this wheelchair.
right. And she was kind of told, like, by her mom, okay, we can't walk in public. So she would like be able to like stand up in her room and she knew that she could stand up and she knew she could walk. But still, even with the amount of time that she spent having to be in a wheelchair, it affected like her muscles and things like that. I mean, this
Right,
severely affected her mentally and physically.
right. I just
And
think she deserves to be in jail for however long. I don't know what didn't she get like a 30-year sentence or something?
let me look real quick.
I just don't think she deserves to be in jail for that long. She needs some serious psychiatric counseling, and uh, I I just don't think jail is the answer for a situation like that. She was a kid.
Actually, it's not that bad. She pleaded guilty to second degree murder and is serving a 10-year sentence.
Oh, but that was a while ago. So does it say when she gets to like
It
appeal
was
or?
in That was a trial in November 2018.
Oh, shit.
And
Oh, really?
her boyfriend, who actually committed the murder, was convicted
Right.
of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Because he was also like much older, not super older, but he was definitely an adult,
Yeah.
like at least mid-20s, I think.
Yeah, it says in 2023 she'll be eligible for parole.
Ugh.
Which, I mean, you know what, I guess it's not that bad, but still, I just feel like that's a lot of punishment for somebody who didn't even actually commit the crime.
Right, and I thought that even before. Did you see her interview with Dr. Phil?
No.
When I saw that, that's when I felt the most sad for her. I mean, she's a kid sitting there talking to Dr. Phil. I mean, she just, I don't know. It made me feel.
I feel so bad because her mom, Dee Dee, isolated her so much that Dee Dee was
Yeah,
all she had. And then she met this guy on the internet and just got some
yeah,
crazy ideas. And I mean, who could blame her after her mom would make her take medications and things like that? And I mean, these people aren't just saying my daughter feels like XYZ. They're giving them things to make them vomit.
feel that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
To make
And
them
her little that
actually
interview with Doc, yeah, and that interview with Dr. Phil, her little like baby voice
Mhm.
is such a weird characteristic.
Oh yeah, because Dee Dee told her that she was retarded
Yeah,
and made her feel like she was supposed to act like a child. That's
yeah,
why she talks like that. That's
yeah.
insane.
But also, haven't you read before how people that like adults that have that little like if you go through some trauma when you're a child, you keep those characteristics as an adult.
Right,
Like
yeah,
you're
I've heard that.
yeah, so all this happened to her when she was a kid, so she carries that into her kind of adult life. She's like stuck being I don't know.
Yeah, what's interesting is a lot of the people with Munchausen's and Munchausen's by proxy, they have a lot of childhood trauma, and that's
Yeah.
why they do what they do because they didn't get positive attention when they were a child. So by doing this, they're getting the attention of either being sick and being cared for, or they're looked at as like a hero and a voice for their child.
Oh
Isn't
God.
that crazy?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm just a hypochondriac.
Oh, God. That's a good show though. And it's a good documentary. It's on HBO, right? Isn't there a HBO
Yeah, I think
documentary about
it's HBO or it's let me
Yeah,
see.
HBO and the Hulu, the like reenacted or acted version, whatever the technical
Yeah.
term is on Hulu is really good.
Mommy Dead and Dearest is on HBO. And while
Mm-hmm.
you're on there, watch There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane. It has nothing to do with it.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
so
good.
good.
It is so good. It's so good, but it's so weird because there's like zero information.
I know.
Like no way to ever know what that woman was thinking or what actually happened. No fucking way. Because everyone died.
Right.
Oh my god, yes. Watch There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane. It'll blow your mind. It makes zero sense.
Yeah.
And there were like no drugs or anything found in her system either, right?
Well, her blood alcohol content was super high. But
Oh.
the whole thing was like the family was trying to find out, is there a way your body can spontaneously um, have a high blood alcohol content? And it turns out there actually is. There's like a disorder where your body will
Yeah,
just produce the blood alcohol content on its own without you drinking
without being
anything at all.
drunk. Because she didn't have like a like a history of alcoholism at all.
Well, no, but there was like an empty bottle of vodka that was in the vehicle. So it was kind of like, did she have a secret drinking problem or was this a medical issue? We still don't really know. I mean, the doctors in the documentary, not to spoil it, but So fast forward to like 30 seconds if you don't want this spoiled, but the doctors in the documentary basically concluded that it was her natural blood alcohol content.
It was her natural blood alcohol content.
That's what they discovered through their testing. But I mean, I don't know if they can really tell that or not.
Is that so weird that you can produce natural
I know.
blood alcohol content?
Can you imagine just like you're sitting there vibing and then all of a sudden you feel drunk and you're like,
or you're being like pulled over for a DUI.
I know.
No, officer, this is my natural blood alcohol content. I promise. This is all natural. It's fine.
Don't worry, officer. This happens.
Don't worry about the
officer.
Time. It's all natural, and you'd peel out.
High speed chase.
I'm gonna try that. So I'm gonna go over a few stories that are crime scenes that were mistaken as Halloween decor.
Oh.
They basically went like ignored or unnoticed for a while. Because people thought they were like pranks and decoration.
I've kind of heard of like the opposite thing where like somebody has something in their trunk.
Okay, so I found one story and I was like, oh shit, that's really interesting. That's good. So I looked it up and then Google kind of like reversed it and I saw this lady who lived in Massachusetts, I guess, put this like dummy kind of like face down crawling up her stairs. So it looked like if this old man like fell up the stairs going into the house or something. And the local police got dozens of calls a day for like a week about this guy that like had a heart attack going up his stairs. So they made her like face the dummy up so people could see that it was like a fake. It didn't have a face, like it was a fake person.
That's
so
funny.
These are actual dead people in crime scenes that people ignored because they thought it was decoration, which is horrible. So the first one is, and this is October in 2016 in Chillicothe, Ohio. Rebecca Cade was a 31-year-old mother. She was severely beaten in the woods by her boyfriend, Donnie Conchenour. Investigators say he used a grapefruit-sized rock to repeatedly hit her. Rebecca also had 5 stab wounds to her face, 1 in the top of her head, a broken nose. Her back was burned through 3 layers of clothing. She suffered a spine and brain injury, and autopsy later showed that she fought back so hard her bicep muscles were torn.
Oh my God.
I know. So when Cade's boyfriend thought she was dead, she made a run for it and attempted to climb over a chain link fence. Her sweatshirt sleeve snagged the top of the fence as she was going over it, leaving her hanging 2 feet off the ground. So basically this girl was like 5 feet tall and barely weighed 90 pounds. So she was so petite, her sweater alone like had her attached to the top of this fence.
Oh my God.
I know. The Montgomery County coroner stated that even though her injuries were devastating and brutal, that she would have survived them had she not got stuck on the top of this fence. I know. Had she not got stuck on the top of this fence trying to get over. Several people noticed the woman's body the next morning on the fence, but didn't initially comprehend what they were seeing. And another article I found said that it was like a high residential area. And so there were kids like walking past this fence and her body to go to their bus stops and to walk to school. But you wouldn't think. It was like the middle of October. So they thought it was a decoration and they just kept walking. Several people noticed the body the next morning. The dead body was only identified as such when a construction worker, so I guess there was a new construction house area going up. He thought it was also decoration and went to remove it and realized it was a human body. Police arrived and followed her blood trail leading to the crime scene, and the large bloody rock was found that Conchenour also used. He was later found at his sister's house, and they found his bloody clothes and the towel that he cleaned off with. This Dick's attorney argued that, so earlier in the night, I guess Rebecca Cade and the boyfriend were at they were like bar hopping and at a bonfire and stuff. And he tried to argue, his attorney tried to argue that there were other people there that didn't like her. So he couldn't have acted alone, or that it wasn't him, even though they found him hiding at his sister's house and found his clothes covered in her blood, and the towel that he used to clean off with also had her blood on it. Right. So he was acquitted of all charges because of mental health issues.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but what's even more fucked up is that when I found this article, it didn't have a ton of info, so I went to other sites and I Googled his name to try to find some more stuff on him. And I was getting confused because I guess he had been in the news for something else unrelated to this. And so I was reading this article and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, like beating up this old guy. Apparently, like years after this happened, he was sitting on his front porch and this old guy was walking down the sidewalk and he dropped his cell phone and it like bounced over into this guy's yard, Donnie Conchinore's yard. And he went over to get his cell phone and Donnie ran off the porch and punched this 60-year-old man in the face twice, and then kicked him in the ribs when he fell to the ground for coming into his yard.
Oh my God.
Like, beat the shit out of this old man for coming into his yard. And he was acquitted of those charges too because he claimed insanity. And this was like 3 years after this Rebecca Cade incident, so he wasn't in jail for what he did to her. So you can just claim like insanity or claim that you have mental health problems and then you're acquitted.
What state is this in?
Ohio.
Yeah, that sounds crazy because I've heard of people who, if you claim like insanity or whatever, you still have to serve time in like a mental institution. So I don't understand why Ohio doesn't have that rule.
Right. And this was I think this was like 3 or 4 years later, this incident with this old man.
Yeah, especially two incidents so close together and still, like claiming the same thing, mental health issues. You would think that this person would need help.
Right. Clearly, yeah.
I mean, I'm sympathetic to people with having mental health issues. Like, I feel like these moms with Munchausen syndrome, they're pieces of shit. But at the same time, I kind of understand that they have like a mental health problem.
Right.
So I understand that, but like, I don't know. You need
also I read with the first case with his ex-girlfriend, or some article said she was a girlfriend, some article said they were acquaintances. Whatever she was to him, I read his attorney also tried to argue that she died because she got stuck on the fence. Like she like committed suicide on this fence because she didn't die of the injuries from this ex-boyfriend. She died because she was stuck on the fence. So they also tried to use that in his defense, which is just, it's fucked up.
She wouldn't be on the fence if it wasn't for him.
Right. Right. Yeah. I don't know the legalities with it, but that guy fucking sucks. And I also couldn't find, because that was in 2016, I couldn't find like an update on where he is now. So if you live in Ohio, be on the lookout. Yeah. I'll post his photo. This next one is, in 2011, a Missouri teenager was working as an actor at a haunted house outside St. Louis when she has no memory of the incident. She somehow hanged herself in the scary bathroom display she was assigned to work. As she struggled to survive and escape the ropes, people who were going through the haunted house thought it was part of the show. Marks on the wall and her hands show how hard she fought to get freed. Finally, a coworker an hour later was making rounds to check on employees and found her hanging there unconscious. She was rushed to the hospital where she remained in a coma for 3 days. She's recovered since, but she suffers from short-term memory loss, dizzy spells, and occasional blackouts. Have you seen, I know you don't like movies, but do you remember Scream 2? Did you watch any of the Scream movies?
I feel like I did, but I don't really remember them. But this is reminding me of Final Destination.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that scene that's in Scream 2 with Jada Pinkett Smith, it's the very beginning scene and she's in the bathroom. So she's at the theater to see Scream. It's like
Hmm.
the premiere and everyone has on a Scream mask and it's like super exciting and she goes into the bathroom and this like the killer, the Scream guy is in the bathroom. And so she runs and he's trying to attack her and so she runs into the theater and she's trying to get the attention of people. She's standing in front of the movie screen, like facing the crowd, and he comes in and he's gutting her, like slaughtering her in front of the crowd. But the crowd thinks it's like a skit to hype them up for the
Oh
movie.
my God.
And so they're like cheering and screaming and like clapping and stuff, and she's actually getting murdered in front of all of them.
Oh my
It's
God.
terrifying. That's so terrifying to me. For you to be in a situation where you need help, but you're also in a situation where like a haunted house like that. If you went
Yeah.
to a haunted house and you saw a girl like hanging in the top of the haunted house, dangling and like kicking her feet and screaming, you'd be like, "Oh my God, it's so scary," and you'd
Yeah,
keep
I know.
walking. You know, you wouldn't be like, "That girl needs help." It's terrifying.
Yeah, I think maybe they need to be a little less realistic.
This next one is October 26th in 2005. This one's very sad actually. The corpse of a 42-year-old woman was left suspended in public view for hours in Frederica, Delaware, because her lifeless body was assumed to be another Halloween display. The unnamed woman hung herself from a tree located across a moderately busy road from some homes. Her body, suspended about 15 feet above the ground, could easily be seen from passing vehicles. State police spokesman said that neighbors said people noticed the body around 7:30 that morning, but dismissed it as a holiday prank. Authorities arrived on the scene at 11 a.m. to begin the process of examining the scene and removing the body. She lived about a quarter mile from where her body was discovered. So she lived close by and walked over to this house at like 7 a.m. and hung herself and then was just there for the world to see.
That's really sad. But you know what I feel like when I see people who have decorations like that, I feel like it's really distasteful. So sorry if you're one of those people and you're listening, but
Yeah,
like the hanging, I just think that's kind of maybe you should do something
like
else.
a right, like a noose with a skeleton or like a
Yeah.
dummy in your heart or something. That's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. This one is in Los Angeles. This was just a few years ago. The body of a man slumped over patio furniture on his balcony in Marina del Rey was mistaken for Halloween decor and remained undisturbed for 5 days. Sheriff's deputies were called to the complex and found the man, Mustafa Mohammed Zayed, was 75. He had been shot through the eye. There was also blood spatter, but neighbors said it looked fake and it looked like somebody had thrown a dummy over the back of a chair. They believe that Mr. Zayed committed suicide because there were zero signs of foul play. The community did recall hearing popping sounds, but was assumed to be firecrackers, which it's never firecrackers.
No.
We live downtown Atlanta and I have the Nextdoor app and I don't check it that much because it's always like, oh, there were what heard to be gunshots or firecrackers down Memorial Drive. I'm like, it was gunshots.
Yeah.
It's November. It's
Yeah.
September. It's not firecrackers. That was gunshots. It's always gunshots. Most people in the complex of 800 units may not have noticed Mr. Zayed because there were hard rain and cold winds, which had probably kept his odors, or probably obscured the smell of odors and a rotting corpse. And also, weather like that would have just kept people indoors for the week. So people saw him, but no one smelled him.
Oh.
So it was mistaken to be Halloween decor. This is Halloween night 2014. Derek Ward, 35, killed his mother, 66-year-old Patricia, in their apartment in Farmingdale, Long Island. Derek had been suffering from mental health illness and was out of his medication, with an upcoming appointment for evaluation and refill scheduled for just 3 days after the incident, but he had already gone 4 days without his meds. Derek stabbed his mother multiple times, and she also suffered from broken ribs. He reportedly sat with his mother's body for a short time before he beheaded her, drug her body to the street, and kicked her head 20 feet down the road. A neighbor who did not witness Derek or the accident attempted to remove what he thought was a Halloween prank from the street and immediately called 911. Upon the police arriving, Derek jumped under a moving train across the street. When his body was recovered, obviously dead, he was found with a pistol and around 100 Valium tablets. Mr. Ward reportedly had a history of mental health problems stretching back over the past decade, and had been arrested in the past for criminal mischief, and was as well as weapons and drug possession. However, he had no record of previous domestic incidents involving his mother and no violence history.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
I know. She was a professor. She was a professor at the college that he went to.
Yeah, that's really sad.
You got to get your meds.
Yes, please.
So he had been on medication for like 10 years and just went a week without them, and it was...
That's pretty scary that you can go just that many days without your medication and go...
Not even a week. Yeah, 4 days he went without his meds and snapped. That was my last one.
Well, are you ready to do the palate cleanser?
Or would you rathers?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Do you want to go?
Yeah, do you want to like switch off, like you do one and then I do one?
Okay, that's fine. So last week we thought it would be exciting to end. I don't know what else we'll do. We'll have to think of something good. So last week we ended with horoscopes, which I think we could also circle back. We can redo our horoscopes sometimes. We'll do some. There's endless would you rathers. So we're going to end in some would you rathers for this week. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay, go.
This one actually kind of relates to your story last week. So, would you rather only have a GPS with weak signal or have to use only maps?
Oh shit, that's hard. Probably. I think I'd still go for a GPS with a weak signal before I attempted to read a map. Because I think you also have to know where you are to read a map.
That's true, but I think once you learn how to use a map, then you pretty much like can always navigate anywhere.
Oh, Jesus. Would you rather be stuck in a traffic jam for 6 hours or teleport to a random location and have to get back home?
I guess the traffic jam for 6 hours, because at least I know where I am.
And at least you know you'll be home in 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was hard. So when Peter and I were driving to Tennessee the other day, I told him that you and I were going to do some would you rathers. And so he found the site and he read so many to me. And that one really stumped me, I guess, because I do live in the city. And I've been in a traffic jam for a while, and I'm ready to. But then I thought of being in a random location and having to get back. Because at first I was like, oh, a random location. Like, I can't sit in a traffic jam. And Peter was like, yeah, but what if you teleport to, like, China?
Yeah.
Right now. And you have to get back home. So I was like, oh, yeah, that would be horrible.
That was my immediate thought. I was like, what about Hong Kong?
Yeah. Or you're on a fucking tugboat in the middle of the ocean. Get back home. That sounds terrifying.
Okay, would you rather live inside of a hollowed out tree or live inside of a shell like a turtle?
Aww. But I can get out of the tree.
Yeah.
Like I can come and go as I please from the tree.
Yeah.
Probably a tree.
Yeah, I think living inside of a hollowed out tree would be pretty dope.
Yeah. Yeah, I choose tree. Would you rather be married to a 10 with a bad personality or a 6 with an amazing personality?
Uh, a 6.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
And I told Peter read this one to me the other day, and I was like, oh, remind me of that one. And he was like, really? I said, yeah, because that's basically you. And he was really offended, but to me, that's really high. A 6?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it's definitely not ugly.
I mean, I don't know a 10. I don't know a 10.
Yeah. One time
I
I
don't
asked
know
Cody
in my life it's a 10. A 6 is pretty high.
I asked Cody to rate me, and I think, like when we were dating, I think he gave me like a 7 or an 8, and I acted like offended about it, and he was like, "Well, I've never seen a 10."
Never.
Yeah, that's what he said.
I mean, I can definitely think of like some celebs I think are a 10, but in my personal life, I don't know a 10.
No. Most people hover around 5.
Yeah, and even halfway, a 5 is, even if I got a 5, I would be flattered. 5? Peter was really upset. Okay, it's your turn.
Would you rather have a bottomless glass of your favorite drink or a gas tank that you never had to fill up?
Oh, a gas tank I never had to fill up. Easily, yeah.
Yeah, that'd save so much money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm fine spending money on wine. I'd rather
Yeah,
spend money on wine than gas.
Yeah, if you're saving money on gas.
Right. Would you rather have your significant other look through all your texts, chats, and email history, or your current employer?
I guess significant other because my employer would be probably pretty upset if they saw.
I was gonna say, in your situation, you probably talk more shit about your current employer than you do your husband.
For sure.
Yeah, same.
All right, would you rather have to drink everything out of shot glasses or drink everything through a coffee stir?
Take everything as a shot, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take everything as a shot, I think.
Yeah, I think that's easier than drinking everything through a coffee stir.
Get a headache. Um, would you rather only be able to shout or only be able to whisper?
Only be able to whisper because I already talk pretty quietly. So I feel like I'm not far off from that already.
What if you're can you imagine when we went to see Post Malone if you're trying to whisper something to me?
I'd have to get right in your ear.
Like inside my ear hole.
Right. Would you rather never have painful period cramps again or never have to shave again?
If I never had to shave again, does that mean that like the hair doesn't grow, or I just chose not to shave?
I think I would interpret it as the hair doesn't grow.
Okay, so certainly the period cramps.
Really?
Yeah, especially today in my life. 100%.
I thought that was relevant to your life today. I'd rather never have to shave again. Like, I'd rather the parts I want bald to be bald.
If I could go the rest of my life with not feeling the way I feel today, that's what I choose.
Okay.
So my last one, I couldn't even answer myself hypothetically because it's too difficult. Would you rather burn to death or drown?
Drown.
Yeah.
I feel like it's faster.
Yeah. You would hope. I don't know though. I mean, you can go a long time like gasping for air or like doggy paddling, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long you actually can live on fire. I should have looked that up. Like how long it actually takes you to burn to death.
Yeah,
That's
I would hope that like you'd pass out from the pain at a certain point.
burning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to Google that.
Oh,
Now I'm
I
trying to
couldn't.
decide which one I want to do for you for the last one because I picked several just in case like we had any that were kind of like overlapping.
How many do you have? How many do you have left?
I have
Just
five
do both of
left.
them. You have 5 left?
Yeah. I don't know how.
Oh, do all of them. Oh,
Okay.
I thought we were gonna have 10 total. I didn't know you had 10 yourself.
Oh.
I would have got more. I would
I
have
thought
gotten
it was
more.
10
I did
total.
5.
Would you rather have venomous fangs or a second set of eyes in the back of your head?
Ooh, second set of eyes.
That would be pretty cool, actually.
You know those TikToks where the girls have their phones in their back pocket, like recording guys
Yeah.
looking at their asses? That's what I just thought of. I would have 100% have eyes in the back of my head.
I saw this one where like the guys were clearly like not looking at her ass. They were just kind of like looking at the back of her head, like you know how
Yeah,
you just like notice a person and people
yeah,
were in the comments talking about that. I thought it was funny.
yeah.
All right. Okay, here's like a kind of a spooky one. Would you rather spend a week in the woods or one night in a real haunted house?
Alone. You're alone for both.
Yeah.
A week in the woods or one night in a haunted house.
Yeah.
I would do one night in a haunted house, even though I'd be so terrified. A week in the woods. That's undoable.
It could
I
be
would stay one night in a haunted house and just stay awake all night.
It depends on where the woods are.
Woods are woods. I
Well,
mean,
like, are there bears or not? That's what I want to know.
aw.
If there are bears, you don't want it. Okay, here's a funny one. I'm just gonna end it here with this one. Would you rather wash all of your dishes using your tongue or wash your pets using your tongue?
Ew. Ew. Um, oh, I'd probably wash, oh, Jesus. I'd probably wash Penny using my tongue before I lick all my dishes. We bathe her a lot, so she's not that dirty. Oh, I cannot lick a dish. Anytime I do dishes and I see like old food or just like stopping wet food in the sink, I always think of hot dog eating competitions where they like
Oh,
dip the hot dogs into like blenders of water or something. God, it's so disgusting. Like wet food is the most disgusting thing to me.
yeah, I don't
There's no
even
way.
like if you open up the dishwasher and like food has dripped off of the plate onto the
Ugh.
bottom of the dishwasher.
Ugh.
So gross.
Just wet food is the most disgusting thing to me. Like sometimes when I'm feeding Blair and I give her a little sippy cup of water, she'll just like dump it on her food. And so there's just like chicken nuggets and water
Ew.
and like macaroni and cheese in water and she's eating it and I'm gagging as I'm like wiping her hands off. It's so gross. It's so gross.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Okay, so that's episode 2, Down the Hatch.
Down the hatch.
So when this episode comes out on Tuesday is election day, right?
Yes.
I don't ever want to talk about politics on this podcast ever,
No.
but it's not too fucking late to vote. Go vote. That's all we're going to say about politics this year. Just go fucking vote.
Yeah, I agree because I didn't want to like make this political at all, but I just want people to vote. Please.
Just vote and vote the right way.
Yeah.
You know what we mean.
I'm sure you can tell.
You know what we mean. Blessed be.
Right.
Go. Do you know what we get to say every week?
What?
See you next Tuesday.
Oh my God, that's perfect. I didn't even think of that when we decided that Tuesday was going to be today.
Immediately, when the first episode came out on Tuesday, I thought, oh my, I put it in my notes immediately.
Perfect. Yes.
See you next Tuesday.